Angry MGTOW here. I make a lot of angry videos on this channel where I talk about the things that women do and how they've affected society and how the act of feminism itself, has damaged our society. But today I'm going to be talking about what women will have to do to get society back on its head. It's not going to be easy. Feminism has had a devastating effect on society. It's had a devastating effect on the relationship between men and women. I'll say right off the bat that marriage, the sanctity of marriage, is not going to return in the same form that it did one day, that it existed in the 1950s. One of the major reasons is that it can't, because things are very different. I remember having a conversation with No Holds Bar recently where I talked about what life like is in Australia. And I asked him about I asked No Holds Bar about the whole man drought, and he explained it to me quite well. He basically said that there is a man drought in respect that there's not men wanting to get married. There's an inavailability of men who want to get married. However, there's a multitude of men who want to readily have sex with women. You heard me right. So for example, a woman can easily find sex in Australia, in a country where men are retreating. There's still tons and tons of manginas who are willingly happy to go out and have sex with these women. However, the mangina is not getting married to these women. This is where women are not realizing that their sexual value is actually decreasing rather than increasing. They are appealing. The sanctity of marriage has been defiled due to the loss of trust between men and women and allowing the government to come in, mediate the relationship, and use it to extract wealth from men. For women to get things back on track, it's going to be a matter of taking literally one step backwards so they can take 2 steps forward. The first thing women will have to do is get rid of the victim narrative and realize that they are not victims. They are not victims of the world, and especially they are not victims of men. Another point is humility and letting go of the ego, which is something I don't see women doing anytime soon. Culturally, in the United States and in most of the West, women are taught that 1, they are victims, 2, they are powerful victims, and that by complaining they can get anything they want. This is something that women are going to have to let go of. They're going to have to work hard to overcome the victim narrative, realizing that they are not victims of the world, they are not victims of society, and most of all, they are not victims of men. A lot of it will be internal seeking, basically coming to the understanding what human nature is, what people are, and that life doesn't hand out everything to you. Nothing will be perfect in life, and people are not perfect. There will have to be some form of penance with men in society. And when I say penance, in this respect, women have to acknowledge the devastating effect that feminism and people within their gender have perpetuated. Just like they talk about men being involved in trafficking of young girls, women have to acknowledge that women, socially, not every single woman, but many women, the majority, have turned around and used feminism to destroy the lives of men, to extract wealth and resources, to belittle, damage, and literally push some men to the point of taking their own lives. This is no easy pill to swallow. Also, feminist mothers have perpetuated a stereotype that men are violent, so they must submit. They must treat women special, but they must put them on a pedestal. This is something that has to be overcome and removed. There's going to have to be a lot of inner seeking going on among women. But it's also going to be a matter where women would have to also acknowledge that it's time to give up some privileges. One of the major things women would potentially have to give up would be the right to vote. As some would say, that's just ridiculous. Is it? If you look at a society can't be equal if you have special privileges for one group and special punishments for another. To actually turn things around, women will actually have to begin fighting against the Manginas, the white knights, and acknowledge that they are not going to save them. In fact, they are the ones who are creating more of their misery. Because the Mangina is actually an individual who is just riding on the coattails of women, riding on the coattails of feminism. Plato once said that in this world, some men are born to be masters and others are born to be slaves. When I had a conversation with Turd Fleeing Monkey, a point that he brought up is that in the ancient world, the Mangina of today would never have been allowed to reproduce. They would be the men turned into eunuchs or kept as slaves and servants. And that's the absolute truth. The vast majority of men historically never were allowed to pass on their genes. That's another thing. In today's toxic society, we have men who don't actually want to be men. They don't want to actually stand up, strive, work hard to provide and to create. But because of the way society is structured, they simply ride on the coattails of men who have built things and women who are working to tear down society to get what they want. They are scavengers that pick up the scraps that feminism leaves behind. And these are the men who you cannot see as anything of value in society because they are only scavengers. They are like crows. They are like seagulls. They basically eat the filth of the earth and keep on moving. But they are of no value to the average society. They basically pick up the scraps. They are scavengers. And you cannot think of them in a positive light because they offer nothing. Women typically are keen on these types of men because they look to the woman for value. They basically do things to gain access to the woman, but they don't do things to actually enrich their own lives. These are the type of men that a woman would want to be in a relationship with. And when I think about it very carefully, some of these men, a lot of them that have been damaged and had their lives ruined, I don't feel sorry for a lot of them. Many of us were once Manginas ourselves, don't get me wrong. But after being damaged and having things taken away from us and learning our lessons, we woke up to red pill theory. Many of these guys who go through these things, they still don't learn. I remember coming across one guy who said that his ex-wife had left him and she basically was getting child support for his 3 daughters. And he was basically complaining that he didn't like the things I said because women are wonderful and it's just awful how I talk. But he's living a miserable life and he doesn't blame women. He blames the court system. He blames the court system for the way they regulate child support. He blames the court system for how they stripped him of his resources. But he does not put any of the blame on women. And I think to myself, you're the same guy that potentially helped push for these laws. And that's the reason why you're living like this right now. And it's funny because he was so effeminate. As men, we have to stand up for ourselves, and women need to learn that a man's life has never been easy. Women need to learn to value a man again. Value the efforts of men. Value the individuality of men. And stop looking to men to be only providers and protectors, and notice that men are human beings, because women don't see us as human beings. They see us as providers. They see us as resources. They don't see us as people. And it's been like that for quite some time. And it's something that has to change. It's something that we have to address going forward. I don't like the relationship that men and women have right now. I think it's terrible. I think it's terrible. I think it's miserable. And I think that going forward, the only way that things can change between men and women is women abandoning the victim narrative, which is going to be hard for them because it's the powerful victim narrative. When I spoke to Turd recently about how shit would hit the fan, we basically came to a consensus on what would happen, or however the organization of how it would happen was different. And I do agree with Turd in this respect. It would start out with women basically saying that they are victims when they lose action to Section 8, when they lose action to access to food stamps, when they lose access to free birth control and health care and all the entitlements as they're going down the drain. They're running out. As they lose access to these things, they'll begin to take on the victim narrative. And when that fails for them, then they'll begin taking on the passive aggressive, essentially demanding that these things are returned. So they'll demand things are returned, then they'll play victims, correcting myself, and when all else fails, then they'll have to clean up their act. Unfortunately, many of them are so deep in debt and so many other things right now. They've messed up their lives so much. Many will have a hard time adjusting and coming out of it. But for women to actually move forward, they will have to change. They will have to learn how to control their female nature. They will have to learn how to control themselves. You know, there is no literal reason for a woman to behave in society today because of the way it's structured to basically put women on a pedestal. The criminal justice system allows women to walk all over men. A woman can commit murder. She can kill all of her children and spend a few years in jail, get out, and then have children all over again. Start a family. A man kills his children, not even through proof, but through so-called evidence. And in that event, he can end up executed, which is what usually happens, because they say women have no agency. Gaining agency is going to have to be something that women also acquire, because there's not going to be any more handouts. There's not going to be any more, you're a poor woman. Going forward, men are walking away. And just like the example I gave you earlier, there's not going to be a multitude of men that will come to the rescue of women. Men are always going to be out there that will want to have sex with a woman, but they are not going to marry them. They're not going to give them their resources, and they're not going to be their providers and protectors anymore. To be very fair, a lot of men today are not good protectors, and they're not good providers. They don't know the first thing about the very basic things in life and survival. That's what really differentiates men from boys, and boys from whatever. A lot of men grow up without fathers. And another important point is that women are going to have to reintroduce fathers into the lives of their children. Society is going to have to change. And I honestly think that for society to change, women will have to give up their manginas. They will have to basically reject the mangina. A flat out rejection of the mangina is one of the biggest testaments you can make in society. And it won't be a matter of, oh, we simply want more alpha men. It will simply be, this type of man is not working. And furthermore, the whole notion that men have to provide exclusively for women. Women will also have to learn how to provide for themselves and also bring something to a relationship, something other than sex. Because right now in modern society, women really have absolutely nothing to offer a man. Nothing at all. That will have to change. And I don't know if this modern generation of women are up to the task, but I will say I think some of them can do it. But I don't think most will. Not until things become extremely bad. And it won't be that they'll change their ways, they'll just change their tactics. But for those women who actually do want to make a difference, for those women who actually do want to change, the first thing they will have to do is change the victim narrative and acknowledge that they are not victims and that women have victimized men for generations. Let me know if you agree in the comments section that the first step for women moving forward to actually move beyond feminism, to potentially move into a generation where men and women, the relationship between men and women can heal, is to acknowledge that they are not victims and to let go of the victim narrative. I also want to remind you guys, I make 3 of these videos every day, plus bonus videos. So please consider becoming a Patreon by heading over to my YouTube homepage, clicking on the Patreon link in the header, or you can also find a link to my Patreon in the description of this video. And when you become a Patreon member, you can pledge as little as $5, $10, $30, whatever your budget allows. But this helps me to continue making quality content for you guys each and every single day. I put out at least 90 videos every month, but up to 200 videos a month. So if you want to make sure that I'm able to continue making content for you guys, it is imperative that you pledge via Patreon. Patreon is different from PayPal. You can actually pledge to Patreon using PayPal, but it becomes a commitment, so you'll donate a consistent $5 a month through Patreon. And there's all these great rewards to help facilitate that. For example, you can acquire t-shirts through my Patreon. People who become patrons for as little as $5 get access to exclusive videos, wallpapers, and many, many other features. One of the things that I'm currently working on Patreon, for example, is an album of MGTOW songs that people in the Patreon community will recommend. Again, there's all this amazing content for Patreon members. So I want you to remember that Patreon helps to ensure I can continue putting out quality content for you guys. Also, one of the great things about Patreon is that whenever you send me a message on Patreon, I get it on my cell phone immediately. Because I realize that your investment is an investment. So I'm always there to listen to you. Doesn't matter if I have 10 Patreons or 1,000, I will always get a notification whenever any one of them sends me a message. Doesn't matter if they're pledging $5 or $100. And it's on a monthly basis, not a per video basis, so you'll always be able to control how much you pledge. And even the smallest amount helps to ensure I can continue to make this content for you and get this message out there for you. I felt that making this video was very, very important because there are people who think that MGTOWs hate women, that MGTOWs just don't like, or some MGTOWs just don't like them. There are a lot of MGTOWs who have a lot of anger. There are some MGTOWs that are filled with hate, just like there are some people who are filled with hate. But ultimately, MGTOW is about men moving forward and living a better quality of life. I know that there are some women who watch these videos, and this video is for them to really explain what we're thinking and how we feel and what women really have to do to change the narrative, to acknowledge that they're not victims. Just because there's domestic violence that occurs in the home, it doesn't mean that men don't suffer from domestic violence as well. And when you look at the equality between support for male domestic violence victims and female domestic violence victims, it's completely different. Because for one, they don't refer to men as victims. A man being a victim of a woman is something that society does not allow. The truth is that I don't want to be a victim. Men don't want to be victims. We want to be victors of our own destiny. We will all have trials and tribulations in life, but that doesn't mean we can sit back and blame others for the problems that we have, for the difficulties that we have. We have to rise above them. We cannot simply become them. Nothing lasts forever, and the welfare state is about to fall apart. Women have to either change and evolve or get left behind and fall along with the rubble of the old society. I do want to remind you guys also that never miss another Angry MGTOW video by enabling notifications. You can find a notification button next to the subscribe button below any of my videos. That's where the notification button is. And when you click on it, you'll see a pop-up that says send me all notifications for this channel. Just hit the save, just hit the checkbox next to that, hit save, and once you've done that, you will all receive a notification whenever I put out a new video or whenever I'm live streaming. If you've already done it, you don't have to do it again. But there's been this insane subscriber bug going around. So basically, people who subscribe are getting unsubscribed. When you enable notifications, this ensures you will always receive updates. You will always receive notifications whenever I put out a video or a live stream, even if you are affected by that subscriber bug and end up getting unsubscribed from my channel. So let me know if you agree that the first step going forward for women is to abandon the victim narrative. The next step going forward is to abandon the mangina. Let me know what you think. What do you think is a step forward to changing the direction of our future, to healing the relationship between men and women? Is it even possible? Let me know what you think in the comment section. If you liked the video, go ahead and hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you liked the video, share the video. And just remember that all roads lead to MGTOW or death. And cheers!